Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, my name is Dzaky and for my speaking for informational function final exam, I will be criticizing the 2003 television adaptation of Five Little Pigs, the first episode of Series 9 in Agatha Christie's Poirot, starring David Suchet. This particular episode adapts what is personally my favorite Poirot story. Originally published in 1942, Five Little Pigs stands out in Agatha Christie's body of work for its introspective structure, emotional depth, and psychological complexity. Unlike many of her classic closed-room mysteries, this story unfolds through fragmented memories of five witnesses, as Poirot investigates a murder that took place 16 years earlier. In this critique, I will be focusing on three main aspects of the adaptation. First, its faithfulness to the source material. Second, the acting and character portrayal, especially how certain performances shape the emotional tone of the episode. And third, the use of flashback and visual storytelling techniques that attempt to translate Christie's layered narrative into a cinematic experience. Although I personally appreciate many of the changes made in the adaptation, and I will explain why in the next sections, this critique will take a closer look at how those choices affect the story as a whole, both as an interpretation of Christie's work and as a standalone piece of television drama. Now, let us begin with the question of faithfulness to the original novel. While the 2003 adaptation does follow the core structure of Five Little Pigs, it makes several notable changes, some subtle, others more significant. For example, in the book, Caroline Creel is sentenced to life imprisonment and dies of natural causes a year later. In the adaptation, however, she is executed, a far more dramatic conclusion. While this alters the emotional tone, I see it as a storytelling choice meant to intensify the weight of Lucy's or Carla's quest for the truth. Another key difference lies in the character of Philip Blake. In the novel, his hostility towards Caroline stems from general bitterness, but in the adaptation, it is revealed that Philip harbored a romantic infatuation with Amyas. This shifts add depth and provides a clearer psychological motive for his disdain towards Caroline. Personally, I believe this change enhanced the story, making his action feel more grounded and emotionally driven. The adaptation also changed Carla's name to Lucy and removes the subplot involving her fiancé and her fear of inheriting criminal tendencies. Instead, Lucy's motivation is focused solely on clearing her mother's name. I consider this the most effective change. It simplifies her character's goal, giving her a stronger emotional presence and a more straightforward narrative purposes. Finally, the ending is given a more dramatic flourish after Poirot reveals Elsa's guilt. Lucy confronts her with a pistol. Elsa, with her characteristic arrogance, dares her to shoot. But Poirot intervenes and persuades Lucy to let justice run its course. This addition, while not present in the book, creates a powerful climax that visually emphasizes both Lucy's inner conflict and Poirot's moral authority. Next, I'll talk about the acting and character portrayal. The cast of the 2003 adaptation delivers outstanding performances across the board. David Suchet is, as always, exceptional in his role as Hercule Poirot, subtle, precise, and utterly captivating. The Creel family is portrayed with great emotional depth. Rachel Sterling brings quiet dignity and sorrow to Caroline Creel. Aidan Gillen captured the charisma and arrogance of the doomed painter Amias, and Amy Mullins gives Lucy a modern sense of resolve and compassion. The five key witnesses, referred to in the title as the Five Little Pigs, are equally well cast. Julie Cox brings elegance and cold detachment to Elsa Greer. Toby Stevens portrays Philip Blake with restraint and bitterness and underlying complexity. Sophie Winkleman and Tallulah Riley work seamlessly together as the adult and young Angela Warren, maintaining emotional continuity across time. Mark Warren makes Meredith both sympathetic and elusive, and finally Gemma Jones as Miss Williams delivers a performance that is grounded and sincere. Although Agatha Christie's own stage version, Go Back for Murder, intended for the roles of Caroline and Carla, renamed Lucy here, to be played by the same actress, this adaptation uses two different performers. Despite that, Rachel Sterling and Amy Mullins share such strong emotional continuity that they still feel unmistakably like mother and daughter. Overall, the cast perfectly embodies the spirit of their literary counterparts, bringing the novel's psychological complexity to life. Lastly, let's talk about the use of flashback and visual storytelling. The visual storytelling in this adaptation is one of its most powerful tools. The frequent use of flashback is handled with great sensitivity style. Rather than presenting past events as cold, factual reconstructions, the episode used a dreamlike aesthetic that mirrors the act of remembering itself. Soft focus, natural lighting, and subtle shifts in weather all help communicate the emotional tone of each memory. Moments of happiness and warmth are accompanied by golden sunlight and bright, vivid imagery. In contrast, memories of tension, betrayal, or despair are shown beneath darkening sky or windswept silence. This symbolic use of weather and lighting enriches the narrative without relying on heavy-handed exposition. Through these techniques, the adaptation captures the elusive, subjective nature of memory, which is central to the story's theme. It allows the viewer to feel as though they are piecing together the mystery alongside Poirot, not just through facts, but through atmosphere, tone, and feeling. So, in summary, the 2003 adaptation of Five Little Pigs makes several changes to Agatha Christie's original novel, some subtle, others more dramatic. While purists may argue that these choices stray from the source material, I believe they enhance the story's emotional weight and thematic clarity. The changes of the characters' motivation, particularly Philip's affection for Amyas and Lucy's focused desire for justice, offer a deeper, more modern reading of the story without sacrificing its original intent. The acting throughout is consistently strong, with each performer capturing the nuance and emotional complexity of their role. Though the decision not to cast the same actress as both Caroline and Lucy diverges from Christie's stage vision, the bond between the two characters is still powerfully conveyed. The ensemble cast, especially the five witnesses, truly feel like they've stepped out of the pages of the novel. Visually, the use of flashback and symbolic cinematography brings the idea of memory to life. The dreamlike lighting and weather changes subtly guide the viewer through emotional highs and lows, reinforcing the core theme that truth is often shaped by perspective. Five Little Pigs remains my favorite Poirot story, and this adaptation, despite or perhaps because of its changes, captures the heart of what makes it so compelling. It's not just a murder mystery, but a quiet, tragic reflection on memory, guilt, and the need for resolution. For that, I believe this adaptation succeeds in both honoring Christie's legacy and imagining it for the screen. I guess that's it from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.